Welcome back to another episode of the Force for Growth podcast. I'm Ricardo.
And I'm Jessie.
Courtney is on vacation this week, so I have my lovely wife as my co host for these 3 days. I'm excited to have you here, babe.
You're excited?
I am.
Question mark?
What are we going to talk about today?
Today we are talking about when too much is too much.
Dun, dun, dun.
So let's get started.
When is too much, Jesse? When is too much? So we're professionals at this topic. That's why I think this is a great topic for us to talk about. So let me break it down. Okay?
Break it down.
So here's the deal. So this is going to be interesting because I'm going to tell stories about you, and clearly you're going to be telling stories about me.
Yay, my favorite. Getting thrown under the bus.
I know. So we're just going to throw each other under the bus on this episode. Ready?
Yes, let's go.
Round one. Ding, ding.
Okay. I'm going to go first.
Okay, go first, babe. Go first. Okay. When is too much?
So on Monday's episode, Ricardo started the conversation with, and I'm joined by my wifey poo. That was too much. Never in our 13 years together has he ever called me wifey poo. Ever. So too much can be different things. To me, that was a perfect example of when too much is too much.
Fair enough, wifey poo. Fair enough, wifey poo. All right. So for me,
I'm glad we're in different rooms because I would strangle you right now.
That's just a bit too much. That's just a bit too much, baby. Too much. Okay. So back in the day, a few years ago, well, since I've met Jessie, she's always been kind of extreme. For those of you who know Jessie, and for those of you who are just getting to know Jessie, maybe you don't know this side of her just yet, but she tends to be extreme. When she goes hardcore, especially when it comes to working out.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so what would happen, babe? What would be the repetitious pattern?
So I'm like, okay, let's work out. I'm going to work out. And I would wake up at 4:00 in the morning, get a 2-hour workout in, get ready for work, go to work, after work, cook dinner. And then it was another 2-hour workout. And of course, I would injure myself. Yes. And I'm out for a few weeks or months. Yeah.
Several months. Because she just went too hardcore, went too much. She doesn't really know how to dial it down just a little bit. That's right, Lavie. Lavie just commented. He says, all or nothing. I love it.
Yes, 100% all the time. All the time. Yes.
All the time. So
I don't do 50. I don't do 50%. I don't know what that is.
She doesn't know what that is at all, guys. She doesn't know how to gauge that. So she goes from not doing much for several months to just 4 hours a day.
Yep.
So, but what has been the lesson in going just too much? In this example of when too much is too much?
Well, right now, I'm still dealing with an injury, not workout related. I actually fell down our stairs at our house right before Christmas.
Yes.
And I'm still having issues. So right now, even, I'm doing workouts, but they're very slow. They're very small. They're very, it's nothing extreme because I physically can't. So even if I wanted to go hardcore, balls to the wall, I just physically can't. I have to take care of myself and go slowly. So I'm starting that back up. So to me right now, I couldn't do too much, even if I wanted to. Correct. Even if I physically, I can't. My body literally will tell me I can't. So that's not an option right now.
So that's the thing. When you don't regulate yourself, the universe will regulate yourself for you.
Okay, you have to use another word because all I hear is regulators.
Regulators.
No.
Now, it was a.
I know. Don't start. Don't start.
I could rap.
I
If you
know.
want
Me
me to
too.
start rapping, let's go.
Not. Let's not. So use a different word. Okay. Let's get it
All right,
together.
all right, get it back
Focus.
together. Bring it back, baby. Okay, so this is one example of when too much is too much. Not being able to regulate it, not being able to dial it down just a little bit, not being able to say, okay, maybe I need to go a little bit slower and build up to this.
Mm-hmm.
And just going for it all. We're not saying don't go for it all. We're not saying don't push yourself. However, when you have no limits, you always go what? Extreme.
Yes.
And that's
Extreme
when
is where I live.
extreme is where you live. But and so here's one of my things. Here's one of my things. Maybe you can help me out through this and shed some light for me and the listeners and viewers here.
Okay.
I have a hard time realizing when I'm doing too much.
Oh, yes, you do. Because I'm the one that gets the overflow. So
please elaborate.
So Ricardo doesn't take out his anything on anyone else except me. I 100% get it. And I always tell him, I'm the only person you come to because in our relationship, I 100% believe that I am his ride or die. I 100% believe that whatever he tells me, I never throw it in his face. I don't tell, his secrets. That's between him and I, no matter what. It doesn't matter if I'm upset at him or not. That's between us. So anytime, and I'm okay with that. So anytime he does too much, I get the brunt of it. Now, again, I'm okay with that, but I am the one, that deals with it. So I sometimes have to, just tell him, hey, you need to, scale back just a little. Like let's rethink this through. Let's take a few things off the schedule. Let's look at this. And, he does well because I don't go to him attacking him. I just go to him with specific facts and details so that he understands me Ricardo's very logical. So I have to, speak to him very logical. I can't tell him about my feelings, or I have to tell him specific facts so that he grasps what I'm saying and understands what I'm saying.
And I think that's a big relationship tip right there too. Because I think there's possibly this happens in every relationship where one partner tends to go really extreme and the other one can't reel them in,
Mm-hmm.
or doesn't think that they need to be reeled in.
Yeah.
And for me, you do reel me in because, I mean, let's face it, I don't post or talk about maybe a third of the stuff that I actually do.
Yes, you don't speak about, everything that happens, everything that you're doing. We're not public about it. That's, things that we do here at the house for ourselves, and it's a lot. Like
Correct.
it's a full schedule.
It is. It is quite a bit. I think one day we sat down and talked about everything that I do, and you pointed it out. Well, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, and you want to do that too. And then when you said it in that way, I was like, wow, that does sound like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't focus on the big picture. I don't focus on how many things it is or how many balls I'm juggling in the air. I focus on whatever it is that I'm doing in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and not thinking about everything else. Mind you, if I was to focus on every single thing that I was doing, it would be very overwhelming and overshadowing for me personally.
And I think that's why you don't do it. I think that's why you only focus on, the day-to-day, what you have to do that specific day. I only brought that to your attention because I knew if you were to add anything else to your plate at that moment, it was not going to fare well for our household. So I had to step in and tell you just for a moment, not forever. Just give it a few weeks while you finish one thing, and then we can add it in, no problem. I'm totally down. I'm your biggest fan and I'm your number one supporter. So I'm totally down for whatever you want to do. I'm on board, but I also have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And I know you don't do that. So I have to do that for you.
And here's one of my biggest challenges is when I'm in the middle of not knowing when too much is I can't gauge it because I'm in it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't gauge it because I'm the one going for it. I'm the one working on it. And because I work on one thing at a time, I might have 4, 5, 6 different projects, but when I'm working on one thing, I'm working on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I'll work on another thing, or the next day I'll work on another thing. So in my head, it's very hard to gauge, to determine if I'm doing too much or where that fine line is.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to have someone in your life that is able to say, hey, hold up a sec, you're doing what?
Yes. I think we balance
pull it
each
back.
other out when it comes to that. Like you're able to tell me right now, because I physically can't go harder on my workouts. You haven't had to jump in
I
and
haven't.
tell me to slow down because I physically can't. So that's not an option right now. But I think we have that balance amongst our relationship, that you tell me how I'm doing and, hey, this is a lot. And I tell you, and that's something that I feel that our relationship that we have, and it's fine, and we've worked through it, and we're at a place that we can speak to each other that way and very, honest and vulnerable and without taking offense to it. I will say not everyone has that. So
No.
just fill the water with your
It took
partner
us time to
before.
get here, though. It took us time to get here. It wasn't just like, oh, let's get together. We were able to be honest and vulnerable with each other without being offended by it. It took
Correct.
some time.
Correct. And I mean, I still, even to this day, I still will say things that he takes the wrong way. And I can see it in his whole body, his whole physiology, his mood, everything changes. And I'm like, hey, hold up. Let's bring this back. Like, what just happened? What just
Here's a
happened
look.
right there?
Here's a look.
That
Or if she's standing over there, it's
that is not the look. But anyways, I just bring it back and I'm like, what just happened? What did you hear me say? And I'm very specific. What did you hear me say? What are you feeling right now? Please tell me what's going on. And he'll open up and he'll tell me what he heard and he'll tell me what he's feeling. And I'm like, okay, I apologize. That is not what I meant. This is what I meant. This is my, intention behind this comment. I'm really sorry that that's how, it came out, it came across the first time that I said it, but that was not my intention. So I have learned that the minute, I see it in his body, that I clarify it, literally the moment that it happens, so that there is no miscommunication, no misunderstanding. And our relationship is so much better because of that that clarification that happens almost immediately as any miscommunication happens.
and yes. And I agree. And it's something that you work up to. And this could be the person that you're closest to. This could be a friend. This could be a coach, a mentor, just someone that you're able to have these honest and open conversations with that can give you feedback, and you're able to accept it as feedback and make changes based on the information that you got.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think that it's in our human nature to just go for it and just turn it all the way up to 100 from 0? Is that how we're wired up? Is that what we tend to do?
I think the majority of us, yes, because think about it. Most of us, when you're asked, can you do this? Even if you know that you're busy or you're overworked or whatever the case is, you add it onto your plate because your intention is to get it done. Like
Yes.
we want to be successful. We want to, um, do as much as we can. So I do feel that our intention is to be good. I apologize.
What happened?
Our son is in my room. How do I mute this?
Mute it on the computer there. Well, this is good. This is live, guys. This is one of the disadvantages when recording at home.
I'm sorry.
Are you back?
Yes, I'm back. I apologize. Yes, this is live, Lavie, and you'll edit that out, right?
All right, just take a beat. Boom. Take a breath.
Okay.
Oh, continue your thought.
I forgot what I was talking about, though. I apologize.
The tendency to just go in overboard, to go in all the way to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think our intention is that we want to do, we want to do as much. Like we want to I think it makes us feel good about ourselves that we're able to do, all these things at the same time. It's like that juggler that has, one person can have 3 balls and he feels successful as a, 3 thing item juggler. But then you have the juggler that can do 10 things. And how much better does that person, feel? So I think that's how we feel when it, comes to just things that we put on ourselves and on our plates that we want to be successful. We want to feel good about ourselves. And some of us have that tendency that we'll add more things because it makes us feel good when we accomplish them, not necessarily throughout the process, but
when we do it.
Once we're completed with that, thing, we feel so much better about ourselves because, man, you had all this going on at the same time. I can't, the comment that I think makes us feel great is when other people say, I can't imagine myself going through that or doing that, or I can't do, even a little bit of that. I can't do that. So it just makes you feel good. So again, I think we do it for a positive reason. That's what I believe.
I agree. And we're also in the self-development space, right? And when we're in the self-development space, one of the key things that we experience on a regular basis is high levels of motivation. And when we experience high levels of motivation, we feel, listen to the words very carefully, we feel like we can do very hard and very difficult things. Even though we might not have the ability to do it or the skills to do it, we feel like we are capable of doing it. And one of the issues long term is that motivation just doesn't last. We're not able to sustain motivation for extremely long periods of time to get us to where we need to be. Motivation comes in spurts, right? Highly motivated. Okay, maybe I'm not as motivated today. I'm highly motivated, not so much today. And when that happens is when the level of ability and skill comes on the ride with motivation. If motivation goes down, that ability and skill goes down. When motivation goes up, what goes up, babe?
The same thing. I mean, it starts when the motivation goes up. I think everything it becomes easier. Everything goes up.
Yes, but the thing is, motivation doesn't stick. That's the gotcha.
No, motivation just lasts for literally a moment. Like it's just the moment. It's a brief moment. It's what got you started. It's what got you going. What keeps you going is definitely the momentum. Once you're just going, I mean, think about a car. It gets started because you put your, gas on the foot. I mean, your foot on the gas. But if you take it off, that momentum keeps you rolling, So that's where I kind of think that it's the same thing for us.
I agree. And one thing to also keep in mind is being able to understand that part, that just because you're highly motivated doesn't mean that you automatically have the skills or the ability to do it long term.
Mm-hmm.
right? Just
Yeah.
keep that in mind. That's a very important thing.
Motivation doesn't last long. It's literally, I feel like it's a split second. It's the
Correct.
decision, like, okay, perfect example. I am not motivated at all to fill up my gas tank ever at all. Okay. Ever. Ricardo knows that I prefer him to always fill up my gas tank. However, if I am obviously on the road by myself and I need gasoline, I am motivated to fill up my tank because it's a must for me to get to wherever I'm going. But it's not something that I, am super motivated about filling up my own gas tank. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. But again, if I'm by myself,
It has to
driving,
happen.
it has to happen. So,
Yes.
but it's just for that split second. The motivation goes right away as soon as,
It's done.
I need gas again. And I'm like, oh, I can make it home. Ricardo can fill up
That's
my
a
gas
great
tank.
example.
It's a small thing, but I think that kind of gets my point across.
It does. Question.
Okay.
So you've been on both sides of this, where you work out 4 hours a day for 6 weeks or a month or 2 months, get injured, and then you have to sit out for weeks or months, right?
Yes.
Because you don't gauge it, because you also kind of have an issue dialing it in when too much is too much.
Correct.
Right now, in the current situation that you're in, you're forced to dial it in and not go so hard with it.
Correct.
What advice would you give to that person who just goes to 100 from 0 all the time, to dial it back because they want to, not because they're forced to?
So I don't feel that I have good advice right now because, and I'm
Dun,
going to
dun,
tell you
dun.
why.
Thank
No,
you so much for tuning in, guys.
let me explain.
Go ahead.
So I don't feel that I can give adequate advice to that specific question because yes, I am still physically, challenged as far as me being able to, do more than what I would love to. So I go for a walk every day and I walk for 45 minutes every day. If I look at my watch and I'm like, okay, the day before yesterday, I walked 2.5 miles in 45 minutes. Today, I want to walk 3.5 miles in 45 minutes and I burn 300 calories. Let's burn 350. So I am competitive against myself.
Mm.
Oh, if I literally will do calories, I'll do steps, I'll do miles. Like I want to crush all three things than what I did the day before. That's how I think, right? I'm not competing against someone. This isn't a game. Like this is myself. And I'm physically hurt. And so I can't do that even if I wanted to. And so literally the thought comes in and at that same time I have to remind myself, take a breath. This is not what's going to help you. Like, it's not going to help you to start focusing on that. Instead, I have to switch my mind and change what I'm focusing on because I know how I am. I know I like to compete against myself and be better than I did the day before. And so that's been literally a daily struggle that I've been dealing with right now. So, I don't feel that I can give adequate advice. However, I can tell you what I'm currently dealing with and how I'm personally handling it. So one of the things, again, I calm my breath. I take a few deep breaths. And then very important, when I listen to music, I cannot listen to anything fast paced. So my typical, playlist has been thrown out the window because I will start moving to the beat. So I have to listen to slow beat music, or like I've been listening to a lot of country and the slow country, the older country, not anything really super pop or modern, but the older country, and it's slower. And so it allows my walk to be slower. And so those are things that I have learned to do. And again, this is something that I do daily. It's not like, I've conquered this. I still struggle with wanting to walk faster, wanting to, get more steps in, wanting to burn more calories, wanting to do all these things that I just physically can't right now. So it's just being cognizant of your thoughts, and the moment that it comes in, catching yourself and stopping it and just taking a deep breath and, calming your breath and listening to something that's going to help you calm yourself.
Mm. So it's about really just finding what's going to calm you down, whether it's a breath or music, and really get you to dial it back so you don't overdo it.
Correct.
Yes.
I have to constantly just watch it and catch it.
That's some solid advice, babe.
Good.
Thank you.
Of course. Sorry, I couldn't answer it.
But you did.
The other question, though, I felt I answered it my way.
And that's the only way you can answer it.
True that.
There's no wrong answer. Your answer's your answer.
Fair enough.
All right. Any final comments on when too much is too much?
No, I mean,
before we could just go too much on this episode.
I mean, it's sometimes it's hard to see when you're doing too much.
It's hard when you're living it. Yeah.
When you're doing it yourself, it's hard. I think the times that I've caught myself doing it is when I am just overwhelmed constantly. I get it. We all have moments of overwhelm, but if you're living in constant overwhelm every day, every, week, every month, there's something to look at there. That's not good for you. No. And I used to live there every day, and it's not good. That overwhelm gets to you, and it physically just is not good for your body, for your mental health, for your physical health, for, your emotional health, just everything. It's not good for you. So I think just when you're starting to feel just flustered, overwhelmed on a daily basis, you need to take a step back, slow your life down, take a look at it and see how you can adjust accordingly.
Solid. So like Jesse said, slow your roll. Slow your roll. Slow it down. Gauge it and just slow that roll. Right?
Yes.
Great episode, babe. We got one more episode together on Friday. Are you excited?
I can't wait for Monday when Courtney's back.
There you go. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Force for Growth podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at
Force for Growth.
And remember to be a force for good,
a force for growth,
and a force for greatness. Bye.
Bye, guys.